Hi, it's me again with Corel tips and tricks. And part two of this, we're trying to make a template so he can route this out with a CNC router and put it back together and then hold it on the board. And if you don't know about, not a CNC router, a hand router maybe, routers bits come with bearings and you could route this out. If you made this in MDF and then put it on another piece of wood, it's like, let's say like, here's your piece of wood. And then when I do it, this is up my alley right here. When I do it, I would take it on a bandsaw first and cut it really close, do this edge. And I'd even start off with the flat part of the board, but get really close so your router doesn't have to work so much. And you evidently probably know that. But what we're gonna do, we need to break this up. So before I would do anything, let's say this is your dimension exactly the way you want it. I'd go from the outside of the node to the outside. I'd go to the inside to that side. And I would write down those numbers. Because that way, when you lay this out, because it's going to be in at least 4 pieces, you want to make sure this, well, you really only need the outside measurement. You want 52 and 3.34 inches when you're laying it out on your wood, just because your joints are going to move just slightly. Even if you do it correctly. I'm going to change this to a hairline. So we need to get it in this bed, and I've never seen a laser that's 23 by 17. So what we're going to do, we're going to rotate this thing 90 degrees to get the biggest piece that we could put in there. And we're going to put it about right there. And I would suggest maybe 45-degree angles on this to make it kind of strong. So we're going to take a 2-point line and then we're going to rotate it 45 degrees. And then we're going to place this in here where it'll all fit in the laser. So that piece will fit in the laser. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take the Smart Fill tool and fill that in. And there's your first piece. Now, in just a minute, we're going to need to make some sort of locking joint. Now, I would leave that there, and I'd actually take my Smart Fill tool and fill that in and move it out of the way for just a second. We'll keep our line, but we'll delete the rest of this. And then we'll move this back, left click, right click, and then I would possibly rotate it, trying to get it where you can get as few pieces. So we'll be able to do it in 4 pieces. And then bring that line in, just make sure it's in the laser bed. And we're gonna kind of stagger these out. That's gonna be the first one. This is gonna be the second one. We'll go ahead and fill this in. And there's probably several ways you can do this, but I think this will work. Delete that. So there's our 2 copies. Left click, right click, put it back. And let's try rotating it. See, it's a shame because it's 35 inches. It won't fit regardless of what you do. So you're gonna have a little bitty piece hanging over. And you could, quite possibly just split these 2 in half. That way they would both fit in the laser. So let's just do that. So this is your 3rd piece, and then this will be your 4th piece. So what we need to do as far as joining, we're going to take all these and we're going to left click and right click and make sure it's a hairline. He evidently draws in 5 points. So let's change that right now with nothing selected. Change the graphic, change it to a hairline. I'm going to go ahead and change it to red. To me, that signifies a cut line. So now we'll do that. So if you remember, we rotated this. So what we need to do is this is our first 2 joints. The way to kind of rotate it back, and I should have probably done it on a number, But if you will take your 4-point cross, put it right there, double click on your rotation and put it there. That way it'll rotate off that, and then just start rotating till you get dead on. Now you need to be dead on, and that's really good. That's close enough. So what we're gonna do, we need to draw some sort of locking joint. See, we've got over 5 inches of wood, so we've got a lot of room. My suggestion, let's try this first, would be like a dovetail joint. So let's take a rectangle and let's turn it, okay, it's a hairline. Let's turn it to a curve. And then let's change our nudge factor to, so this is less than 2 inches. Let's change our nudge factor to 0.25. And let's take this and then click on that node and nudge it out of the way. Nudge that out of the way. You know what? I'm even going to make it more. I'm going to nudge it twice. So that's almost like a dovetail joint. Now it'd really be nice to find out what this angle is. And that's really easy to do. Take a 2-point line. I preach this all the time to do this, and I didn't do it myself. So let's get rid of that. 2-point line, start going upward, then hold down the control button. Now we can get our parallel dimension tool angle, and we can go from right there to right there and then over to that. We got a 44.94, so it's basically 45. We've got almost a 45-degree angle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this guy a negative 45. So we're into here. And I made it too big, and that's okay. We can make it smaller. But see, it's kind of at the right angle, so we're gonna reduce this guy in size. And we want 2 of them. Now what we're gonna do, and it would really be beneficial maybe to, let's make a duplicate of this guy and then several of them, because we're gonna need the same shape. Now what we can do is let's make a duplicate of this guy and can't really rotate it. Let's rotate it back to 0 and now to 45. No, that's not working. I just really want it. Let me start over. So take a duplicate of that. I wonder if this will work. I hold down the control button and amendment. No, there we go. It made it the exact opposite. Then put this piece up in here and kind of get them together. I've got another duplicate there. So let's just, let's change our nudge. Well, the 1/4 inch would probably be good. This is where you can change, minutely move stuff around. That might be too close to the center. So what we can do is get right on that X and then just kind of bring it into that X. They don't have to be perfectly in the center. See how they're even off. So now what we need to do is make male and females of these parts. We want one of them to be a male part. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our vertical segment delete key and delete that and this. And on this side, we're going to do just the opposite. We're going to do that and that. Well, the only problem with that, did I do it opposite? Yes, I did it opposite. I want this. I want it like that because I want that dovetail effect. Now, take your Smart Fill tool. Let's set it back on that. We can set it on 15 inches. Let's take our, nudge that over, and if we look at it, we have made two identical locking joints. Now, the kerf of the laser is going to move it a little bit. So, and there's a couple other things you could do to make it tight. But before I go to any further, I would get you a piece of scrap wood and I would test those cuts right there. So you won't waste an entire piece of wood. And see if those don't lock together pretty tight. Okay? Now there's other ways that we can make this a little bit tighter, but before I make part 3 of the video, so we've got these two done, but we still need to do the bottom part of this one, which is this one. And you would do the same exact thing. Put that right there to that node. Double click on your rotation and put it on that corner and bring this around. And we're not quite there. And if we do this really close to the node, it should snap right to it. Then remember we made copies. Just do the exact same thing on this end and this end. So you only have to do it, you've got 4 pieces, you only have to do 3 joints. Hope that made sense. And then you could actually go ahead and put this one in place. And I'm going to go over that again where I rotated that real close. You can't do it when you're really far away, but if you get your handle, and if you just get close, and then you could double click on your rotation and take that node and snap it. If you have snap to object on, which is right here, I've got snap to object on. So that should be perfect. Now, the only other thing I'd really want to check is if we're right, we're going to take the parallel dimension tool in 52.39. I can't remember what it was at the beginning. I think that was it. So that way you just know that you got your angles right. And I would check that before, I cut it all out. But, making the 4 pieces aren't a problem. I'm going to go and quit this video and show you how you could make this a little bit tighter joint. And then if I forget, well, I'm just going to do it. I'll take a little time on that. Hope that helped a little bit. Thank you for watching.